DC Comics just gave us our first look at Hush 2, and I've got all the details you need to know about this new sequel that has been 20 years in the making. Jim Lee and Jeff Loeb are back, of course, and it's shaping up to be just as iconic as the original. Or at least, that's what I'd like to believe. Part of me remembers not being that impressed by the original. I'm not one of those people who hated it. I thought it was good. Let's take a look, see these first pages. The sequel will be told in 6 issues. It's going to be part of the ongoing Batman series, issues 158 through 163, starting in March 2025. This is going to set the stage for a major relaunch of the Batman title. There's going to be a brand new #1 after this. Before we get into the ramifications of that, because that could be a pretty big deal, first, let's talk about the prelude in Justice League Unlimited #1, which is out now. Tommy Elliot, aka Hush, he's back. To me, his motivations always seemed a little weird. I don't know. I guess he's crazy, so maybe that explains it. Like, you're just mad that Batman's successful and Bruce Wayne is successful. You're going to kill your parents so you can get all their money. But it looks like he's as calculated, dangerous as ever. The preview shows him, he's analyzing Batman's closest allies, Nightwing, Batgirl, Huntress, and it looks like he's putting together some kind of a playbook to dismantle Bruce Wayne's life. Last time he was focused on manipulating the Caped Crusader and his enemies to spring a final trap to take him out. In Hush 2, it looks like the goal is maybe even bigger. He's destroying everything Batman stands for and turning his friends against him, or at least that's what it seems like to me. In the prelude pages, you see Hush, he's talking about sowing mistrust, and he's targeting the Bat family. He's piecing together their weaknesses, you have to assume. Classic Hush behavior. He's always been more of a psychological warfare type of villain than a brute force villain. I think that is cool, and that's an interesting thing to see, especially in superhero comics, where outside of Batman and some of these more street level superheroes, you see it's always some big alien or some demon who can destroy the multiverse. It's kind of, like almost an underdog villain. I am not a Jim Lee stan. I prefer art a little more character. I think Jim Lee is awesome. To do a little doodling, and he's got great videos on how to draw. He's a great teacher. I think he is a very good visual storyteller, and in general, I think awesome. That's just not my particular, I like art to be just a little bit, I like it to really, you be able to see somebody's stamp on it, and hey, this is Mike Mignola, this is Frank Cho. But the art, very serviceable, more than serviceable. It is clearly Jim Lee, great artist, so I don't want to take anything away from him. And you can see that he's a great artist, and you can see why so many people emulate him. And maybe that's one of the things that makes his artwork seem a little less interesting, just because everybody's doing it. That's not his fault. His signature detail is there. The dynamic layouts, you don't get to see a ton of that in the prelude, but there's enough to see how he brings that tension to each page. And you can tell this is gonna be another big cinematic feel to Batman. Just like in the original, whether you liked it or not, I think you would have to admit it was a game changer. It explored Bruce's relationships, his vulnerability, his connection to Gotham. From the look of the sequel, it seems like they're going to take all those initial themes even further, add some new twists. One thing that really stands out in those initial pages is it seems like the Bat family is going to take center stage. In Hush 1, the original, it was a lot of Hush manipulating villains to do things that sort of worked Batman into position for Hush's plans. It looks like Nightwing, Robin, Huntress, Red Hood, Batgirl. You see Jim Gordon. They're going to be the key players, it seems. Is it going to be that he's turning them against Batman? Is it going to be that he's taken them out. I wouldn't be surprised if this story really pushes those relationships to the breaking point. So Hush 2 will kick off in March. And if the original is anything to go by, this sequel could be one of the biggest Batman stories of the decade. I don't think it'll be bigger than Absolute Batman, not in my estimation. Absolute Batman is a pretty big one to top, but it ought to be good. And the real kicker is that at the end, Batman 163, that's the end of the current series. Then there's a brand new number 1 after that. So this could be the start of something bigger. What is that going to be? I don't know. What will this mean for Batman going forward? Do you think that maybe some major characters are going to fall victim to Hush? You excited to see this popular villain return? Let me know in the comments. I want to hear your theories. If you enjoyed this breakdown, hit the like button, subscribe for more updates on the biggest DC stories. And if you'd like to talk more, join us on Discord. I will put the link in the description.